meeting yet. We're having some technical difficulties, so we'll be ready here shortly.
Okay, commissioners, we are live.
Ready? Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us for a minute as we work through some technical difficulties. I believe that we are ready to go now. So if you would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. So with that, we'll move down through our agenda to the adoption of the current agenda, and I believe our administrator has something he'd like to share with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, we have items number 9 and 10. I was trying to act as swiftly as possible, but in reality, what we need to do here is we need to pass the form, which is item number 9, and then we need to pull number 10 and have it ready to be turned in with the form for next week so that it can be put on consent agenda. So we're still moving forward there, but it's just going to take us an extra week. Wanted to make that recommendation, and then, yeah, that's my recommendation.
And then it's my understanding that we need to pull item number B from regular business. That's been requested to be pulled.
That's true. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Judge Orozco asked if we could pull that for a week as well.
Okay, and then it would be my request with my fellow commissioners' approval that we pull item number 8 from consent. And with that, I would entertain a motion for the agenda.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the current agenda, pulling item number 8 and number 10 from consent and removing regular business item B from the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And with that, we come to the public comment period. If you'd like to make a public comment, please come forward, and you would have 3 minutes for public comment.
Thank you, commissioners. LaWanda Hatch, Precinct 100, Franklin County. I am here today because there is a young man who I've never met, never seen, but I've been in politics for many years, and his name is Trevor. Let me preface this first, though. I have another friend named Rick who lives in the 8th Legislative District, and he made a challenge to Nikki Torres because she had filed in 3 different public disclosure commissions. The last time I checked, those accounts were still up. One in the 15th, where her mother lives, or her mother did used to live in the 15th, which is how she ran the first time. But with the 2020 census, she was redistricted out, and now her mother lives in the 16th. She owns a home that is in the 16th, where Nikki Torres's mother or boyfriend and her teenage daughter live. She filed in that district. Then she filed in the 8th in March and moved her residency with a couple that live on the river. So, because of this, someone had made a post about it, and my friend Rick decided to do some investigating. And he got on the auditor's website, filled out the form, submitted the information that he had, and he was told that he needed to have more information. He needed to prove where she lives. So he asked, how do I do that? And he was told, well, someone from the prosecuting attorney's office will let you know. He never heard anything, so he came to me. So I spoke to someone from the prosecuting attorney's office, and I was told, I cannot give you that information because that's giving you legal advice, and I can't do that. And my thought was, well, if I'm driving on a road and I get pulled over and there's no speeding signs, And I asked the officer, well, what's the speed limit? And he tells me, I can't tell you because that is giving you legal advice. That's the way I felt about that response. So I understand our prosecuting attorney endorsed Nikki Torres, as did Commissioner Bauman. And I understand the prosecuting attorney did recuse himself, but the last I knew, his office had not. And when your boss is charging someone, then the office is. If your boss is endorsing someone, that conflicts the whole office. So this young man decided he would take it upon himself to figure it out. He fashioned himself a local Nick Shirley. And he goes to all 3 different residents that she had listed, and one of them was the house that she owns. And he sat there for 3 days in his car, minding his own business. He didn't knock on any doors. He didn't follow anyone. He didn't look over the fence. He sat in his car. And then next thing he knows, the second day he's there, a young teen knocks on his window and tells him he needs to leave. And he says, okay, so he goes back to his house in Kennewick. All of a sudden, the Benton County Sheriff Department and the Pasco Police, 8 squad cars, 10 officers, drones are at his house and arresting him. 20-year-old young man. I'll speak more. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment?
I have someone that was trying to call in. Is it okay if I call them from my phone? Apparently the number's not working. And then I can do my public comment right after.
Is our call in?
Due to our technical difficulties, yeah, the call-in line's not working right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Would that be okay? Okay.
Their time starts now.
Lester?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You can go ahead.
And then I can do my public comment right after. So our call in.
Go ahead and speak.
Okay, I'm here.
Go ahead.
All right. Am I on?
Yes.
Time starts now. Okay. Okay.
If you'll please turn off
Your
the
Honors.
feed. You're having
My name is
you're having
Lester
back
Churchill.
feed.
Can you, Lester?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
turn off the computer or like,
I just
'cause-
muted it.
okay, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
So, good morning, Your Honors. My name is Lester Churchill. I hold a Master of Science degree in psychology. I'm a published author on narcissistic personality disorders and have served as both a subject matter expert and a consultant on social justice reform. I am here to testify to a documented decades-long pattern of practice by Jacqueline Stamm. Long before she took the bench, Stamm's methodology as a family law attorney relied on the deliberate bad faith manipulation of court procedures to systematically strip fit biological parents of their 14th Amendment rights. The structural deprivations alleged under 18 U.S.C. Section 242 today are the direct, unchecked evolution of the exact tactics she deployed in my case, Taylor versus Churchill. This is filed in Benton County. Stamm's practice relied on engineering procedural traps to manufacture noncompliance. In my case, she routinely filed emergency one-week continuances 5 minutes before the court closed the night before a hearing, specifically timed to disrupt my employment as a long-haul trucker. Once she successfully engineered my termination from Holland Enterprises via these artificial delays, she immediately moved to incarcerate me for child support arrears she had intentionally manufactured. Simultaneously, she suborned severe parental alienation. She attempted to coerce me into signing documents falsely stating I was voluntarily waiving visitation while actively isolating my daughter and misrepresenting the child's distress to the court. This conduct is a matter of judicial record in Taylor versus Churchill. When my counsel exposed Stamm had lied to the court regarding the child's exposure to the litigation, the presiding official, Commissioner Schneider, removed Stamm to his chambers and explicitly and loudly warned her that deceptive maneuvers were grounds for disbarment. An attorney who views due process as a hurdle to be bypassed through fraud becomes a judge who views constitutional rights as optional. Jacqueline Stamm's history proves she is fundamentally unfit for the bench. She must be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Lester.
Thank you, sir. Would you please reset the clock for Ms. Torres? Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Marcy Torres, and I just wanted to give you an update of what I did this last weekend. I had 3 different events, and we made over 2,000 cotton candies and gave them to people in the community. And I'm letting everyone know what's going on. And people will come up to me and tell me, I'm so glad I don't know anyone by the name of Norma Rodriguez. So we're having a good time and letting people know what's going on in our courts. And I take a lot of pride in that because I think families need to be safe. And, you know, it's been way too long. And we're going to hold these people accountable. Jackie Stam is, in fact, the one that in 2024 started, in my own case, fabricated 2 contempt orders. And when I supplied with evidence of, you know, that it was a lie what they were stating, my son had been going to visits for 15 years with his dad, had never been in contempt. All of a sudden, she presides over my case. None of the evidence is looked at, but I'm held in contempt and forced to pay over $3,000 in fees to my ex because she refused to look at the evidence. So she's the reason why, in part, I lost my son, because she refused to look at any of the evidence. And I have so many other cases just like it, where she just fabricates and does things and does not care about children's safety. And then this is the person that we have coming here and asking you for funding for juvenile justice and asking you for funding for all these other things that there's no integrity there. I was court watching yesterday, and Commissioner Holt, I do want to say he is an amazing commissioner. He was presiding, stating laws, reading from the law and saying, this is the way that we need to rule. This is what the law says. And Carrie Hales Davenport tried to use the false allegations, the throwing everything at the wall and see what hits. And then he said, we're going to order that your client goes to do a psych evaluation. This woman had called CPS, had called the police department, and they had been weaponizing the reports that were unfounded against a man. So he ordered that Ms. Carrie Hales Davenport's client go to get a psych evaluation. This has never happened. I've sat at many court hearings, and it's never happened. Even Carrie Hales Davenport was surprised that her client was being asked to go and do a psych evaluation. So I want you guys to know that what we're doing, people are noticing, and you know there are commissioners and you know that are paying attention to the tactics that lawyers have been using for a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody further for public comment?
Marie Redout, good morning. I am here again as a representative for the residents here in the Tri-Cities. I do reside in Richland, which I did go to the commissioners meeting yesterday, the county commissioners meeting, and Mr. Alvarez, at the very end of the meeting, and it's on record, decided to talk about how he talked with the judges and was going to look at ways to prevent us from being able to have public comment. He doesn't want the 3 minutes of time that we have to be able to present the problems that we're seeing in our community. He does not want to hear about what's going on. So he specifically said that we take up too much of his time and they're too busy to hear from us. And they want to make sure that we stick to only what's going to be their agenda. So that tells me that he's really not interested in what's going on. We don't keep anybody's secrets. We're not standing up here saying that we're better than anybody. We're not doing that. By the grace of God, it's the only way I'm getting through my days, because Lord knows I fail every day. But when you have people that are in positions of public authority, you have a higher responsibility. You have a higher standard that you need to hold. And when Ms. Torres is calling out Mr. McKay and saying, you need to resign, you had criminal conduct. You used force against another person, and you're still sitting up here in a position of authority. Now, I get that there's a lot of attorneys out here and judges and everybody that wants to say, wow, we're not going to let the public know about our dirty little laundry because, you know, we have to present this position of trust and authority. Well, what you do by hiding somebody's dirty little secrets or not calling out your coworkers or not pointing at the inconsistencies like Mr. Holt has done, Court Commissioner Holt, in pointing out that, hey, this woman, there may be some problems because, Carrie, you're bringing up a bunch of wild accusations about stuff that you don't have any evidence on. Commissioner Holt has apparently listened to some of the things that are coming out of their mouths and questioning, maybe I can't trust these attorneys anymore. I don't know what he's thinking. I really don't. I've said into lots of the meetings as well as Marcy did. Yesterday I didn't hear that one, but I've been on plenty other ones where we have individuals that are finally recognizing you do not have to listen to an attorney making a lie in court about you and trying to make that your life away from your children and your family. So they're standing up and saying, I did not use drugs. I have not done this. I can prove it. Tell me to do whatever you want me to do. So rather than just going with what the attorney is saying, which has happened a lot, commissioners are now saying, hey, why don't you go get a hair sample? Prove it. I'll give you 2 weeks. Get it done. Comes back, the hair sample's clean. Well, I guess, and this was Mason Pickett at that time, not Carrie Hales Davenport, though that's, I'm sure, another problem too. But there was no drug use, none of that. So you have a commissioner that's actually now looking at, let's do some questioning on that.
Thank you. Anybody further for public comment?
Please state your name for the record.
Yes, Aaron Derrick from Benton County. Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
Been a while. Busy times, complicated business. You know, we hear the usual suspects. Jackie Stam, Norma Rodriguez, Norma, the truth doesn't matter Rodriguez. And, you know, last week I was able to just watch what you do. You do the live streams, which I applaud you for. We love the transparency. Benton County could learn a thing or two from Franklin County. Love it. But I saw that, I believe it was your assessor came up here and cleared the air about some, I guess, some misinformation that came from this podium. And I respected that he did that because it sets an example that, you know, we've had judges sit in the audience here before. And how many weeks have we had people coming here and telling horror stories of what these judges are doing? Child endangerment, destroying families, trafficking. You would think they'd want to come up here and clear the record if that wasn't accurate. And again, we've seen them sit in the crowd before. It's usually because they want something, and as soon as they get it, they get their answer. They vamoose as quick as they got here. And, you know, I was really hoping that we would see a judge here today, whether it's Stam or, we had Bronson Brown here. He happens to be a judge. He wears the robe. He plays the part. And he didn't say a word. He was here about a month ago. He didn't say a word. He kept his head down. Nobody announced his name, but, you know, Do Nothing Radio came up with a song about it. It was pretty great. But I would like to invite the judges, because I know they watch this. I'm looking right at you. I would like to invite you, come to this podium. If anything that we're saying is incorrect, clear the record. Do what the assessor did. I challenge you. How much time do I have left? About a minute. And court watching. Let's talk about court watching. So we've been doing this for about a month now. It has been effective. It's holding these judges accountable. And they're on their best behavior when they see people in court taking notes. I mean, we even had an attorney panicking because I was wearing my bottle caps and he was swearing up and down that it was a recording device. And Judge Shea Brown did a round table, saved me for last, and wanted me to prove that my glasses I didn't have some James Bond spy glasses recording the case or something. It was laughable, it was pathetic, and it was everything we've come to expect. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thanks for your time. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Anybody further for public comment? Good morning.
Brian Thornhill. Hey, so I've got a couple of things to talk about. One of them is going to be fiscal accountability. And this is not about the sheriff. I don't really care about what the sheriff does or doesn't do. Oh, I'm sorry. So this doesn't have anything to do. And also, I've been in public service since 1982. I was a public employee. So I've been through PERS and left, so I understand what goes on. But what I'm going to discuss is the concerns regarding the county's takeover of the jail and courthouse security operation. Recently, commissioners have expressed concerns that false information has been circulating regarding the takeover. My question is simple. Why wasn't the public discussion with the decision when the decision was made? Why didn't you guys talk about it at that point? It would have cleared a lot of things up. When the action was approved in 2025, there was little to no meaningful discussion during the meeting. There was no detailed public explanation of the reasons, the costs, the alternatives that were considered, or the expected impacts. The item was voted on and moved forward. Had there been an open discussion over multiple meetings, the public would have had an opportunity to hear the facts, ask questions, and understand the reasoning behind the decision. Instead, many of those conversations happened after the fact. Transparency is just not holding a vote. Transparency is explaining major decisions before they are made. My second concern is fiscal consistency. Over the past year, commissioners have repeatedly expressed concerns about county finances. The public has heard warnings about budget shortfalls, concerns that spending may exceed available funding, and discussions about possibility of employee layoffs, and that's quoted in the Tri-City Herald. Those statements affect real people. County employees work hard every day to provide services to the citizens of Franklin County. When public officials discuss potential layoffs, employees and their families understandably become concerned about their futures. That is why it's difficult to reconcile those statements with the county's decision to assume responsibility for the jail and courthouse security operations at an apparent cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't have an exact amount. I put around $400,000 because I know there's a contract for the security team to come in, the agency that took over the security and things like that. If the county finances are truly so strained, the layoffs are being discussed and strained that layoffs are being discussed, then the taxpayers and county employees deserve to understand how the decision involving roughly $400,000 could move forward with so little public discussion. What analysis was performed? What alternatives were considered? How was the funding identified? What long-term impacts were projected, and why were those discussions not held publicly before a decision was made? The issue is not whether commissioners had the authority to make the decisions. The issue is whether the public received the transparency and accountability they deserve before such significant comment was made. When the county employees are being told that funding is limited and layoffs may be necessary, while at the same time the county is finding roughly $400,000 for unplanned initiative, it is reasonable for both employees and taxpayers to ask whether county priorities are being applied consistently. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody further for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Caddis Spinda with the Two-Tiered Takedown. My show is on Sunday night at 6 p.m. every single night. We are exposing corruption in this area. We started on March 3rd when Mitch Snow and I walked into the Benton County Commissioners meeting just to let them know what was going on, just to get barked at by Jerome Delvin and told that nothing was going to happen that day, actually. So that was when I decided, you know what? These people need a weekly dose of truth, because they don't operate in truth. And I was a little flustered last week when I came here because they changed Mitch Snow's time from 1:30 to 9:30, because the shenanigans they pull in court are astronomical. But what happened was Judge True kept asking Mitch Snow over and over and over again to admit that he will not re-offend in domestic violence against his ex-wife. How can you re-offend when you didn't offend? You can't re-offend if you didn't offend. And Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Carly Wiseman absolved Mitch Snow of everything. And the proof has been turned in. Judge True admitted she doesn't have access to his records, that he had to resubmit all these things again. He's sitting in there alone with no lawyer, like he's supposed to know that. So another year, he doesn't get to see his son. A whole nother year. For what? He hasn't caused any harm to his son. In fact, his son is with the woman that's been abusing him for 14 years. He's a slave, captive in this home. I don't even know where he is. Nobody knows where they are. And so we have children being given to abusers and pedophiles, and we have judges like Judge Stam, the scam, protecting these people. So we need justice for these people. And every single time now, I keep saying, I told Marcy this every once in a while, it's like, I'm going to write a song about this person now. Because we need to let the youth know what's going on. So we are going to start writing songs about the corruption, and we're putting it out. And I'm putting out 2 to 3 songs a week. I've written 24 songs in 2 months. You guys are the cowboys. I haven't written anything bad about you guys. You guys are the cowboys, okay? And I know you can't do everything. We need people here. And it's hard. You know how hard it is to get people to come in and to speak about the fears because they've been swatted 4 to 5 times. They're afraid they're going to get harmed by our deputies who are breaking bones, dislocating shoulders. Why are they doing that? Our police need to know what's happening in the courtrooms with these judges. They need to know to use their own mind and brain according to the sheriff department manual, that they can make a choice to not follow an unlawful court order. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody further in the room for public comment? Seeing no further people come forward, we'll move on in our agenda to the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of consent agenda items 1 through 7, number 9, and 11 and 12.
I'll second that. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That takes us to regular business. Item A, Resolution 2026-216, the Office of Public Defense, the adjustment of step placement for Office of Public Defense Coordinator position. Mr. Ziegler. I am not a judge. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
5 minutes. We're just here today for
Would you please speak into the mic?
reclassification of Molly Garcia, this in my office, basically looking for a jump from 16.3 to a 16.6. I've handed you the exhibits A, B, and C, so you'll have a chance to examine all of that. The situation basically is, if you approve this, this can be accommodated in the current budget, since we recently lost the only staff employee that we had. She resigned and moved on. Our total savings on that, by the virtue of the fact that she's left, is around $40,000. Actually, it's around 82 to 85, but 40 of that's going to go to the district court for the coverage that we're continually chasing there. So we basically have 41 to 44,000 left in the current budget to accommodate the proposed step increase. We've computed that if it's granted between June 12 and December 31, this is going to cost us an additional $1,235 for the rest of the year, which we can absorb within our current budget. I basically filed this since I was made aware that juvenile, district court, and the Franklin County prosecutor had recently been granted reclassifications. It's also my understanding, I think the commissioner's office got reclassifications. I'm comfortable in proposing it if you look at the job description, which is part of the packet I've handed you. And if you'll look at the last sheet where I've highlighted what I wrote last October, the way I've structured the office, part of what she does is not contained in the current job description. And I think one of the commissioners knows there's a phrase called training up. And part of her job is to train up my office assistant, because, particularly because we're now on a flex schedule in the office, and I don't want any breaks in service. I want coverage all the time, no matter who's there. This will help accommodate that. We're currently at about 17 lawyers and 5 investigators. I don't know what's coming for 2027 out of Olympia. I'm going to meet with them on the 29th, which is what, 12 days? And I'm going to try to pick their brains and get something like an honest answer out of them. What do you guys intend to do in 2027? I hope I don't get the spiel that I should be hiring more social workers instead of lawyers, because right now we need lawyers. I just executed 2 contracts. The only reason I executed them with 2 separate attorneys is it's state funded. It's not going to cost us anything. And I redrafted the one contract that was proposed to me and basically said, if the state funding terminates, the contract terminates, because the language that was in that contract said if the state funding stops, the lawyer may be required to continue at the discretion of the court. And I said, no, I'm not going to obligate the county on an open-ended budget thing like that when the money's as tight as it is. So I cleared that with Mr. Dancel, and he agreed, yeah, that's what we need, the kind of protections we're looking for. The bottom line is, I think this is justified. I think this can be covered with the current numbers. The only thing I would ask is that you give me an answer by next Wednesday, next commissioners' meeting. Yes or no. I can live with either answer.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. I can't support this today because I haven't had a chance to go through and evaluate this information that you've given me. So that's kind of where I stand. Commissioner, you have anything you'd like to share? Or?
Yeah, Mr. Ziegler, on this, obviously, we're trying to retain people to
Yes.
positions. How assured are you that with this transpiring, are
Will
we
you
gonna be
talk into the mic, Clint?
I'm not on?
That's better.
Oh, okay. How assured are you that we're going to be able to retain this person if we give them that increase?
I think she'll stay.
Think and do are 2 different things.
I'm not going to say I
want a guarantee.
No. You need to go down to the auto parts store and buy a battery.
And by the way, I think 12 days you're going to be over there. I think we need to start training today to get you in shape to go over there.
Bring it on.
All right.
1 week would be acceptable. I'd like to hear one way or the other, and then we'll do whatever we got to do.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You okay with that, Commissioner,
Yes,
to wait until next week?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
absolutely.
Ziegler.
Thank you.
That takes us to Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I met individually with the commissioners to discuss the agenda and ongoing operations, provide updates. One thing that I think that I would just like to say real quick is that I don't think that everybody gets to see this. I wish folks got to walk a day in my shoes to be able to work with you gentlemen. But you really do care about your people. Every time that I talk to you, when we discuss issues or we discuss projects or what are we going to do moving forward, it's so refreshing to work for a group of people who really, honest to goodness, care about the people they represent. And I want to say how much of a high honor it is to work for you all. And I don't think that it ever gets out there because I don't think that we get very fair PR on a lot of things. But if everybody only knew how deeply tied to the community you are and how when something goes wrong and isn't going right, how you take it personally and you want to make it better. And I just wanted to say that because I don't think that the greater public gets to appreciate that. But I do, and thank you. It makes my job easy because it's just as straightforward as it can be. It's easy to do that. So wanted to just say that because I think that you're owed that and you're due that. And a lot of times when we have comments that are made or if it's a newspaper article or so on and so forth, that's definitely not captured. And so just wanted the people that you represent to know that when I get phone calls from the commissioners, it's about what can we do to help so-and-so out? Or what can we do to make this better? How can we improve the road infrastructure? How can we make it easier for people to get building permits? How can we make it easier for people to conduct business in Franklin County? How can we do what we can for people that show up at the meeting and have serious issues to discuss? And even if it's something that you don't understand, you want to understand. And so I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to get that out there. I don't think we do a good enough job. I don't think I do a good enough job of bragging on you. So Thank you. It's an honor to work for you. Moving on, met with Commissioner Bauman and Sean Davis, as well as the incident command team that's overseeing the fire operations for the Juniper Dunes fire. Basically, the biggest thing there is weather, and then that's the biggest variable. And so just hoping for that the winds kind of stay knocked down, but went over to the Burbank School where their incident command team is set up, spoke with them. It's a small world situation because I come from a town of like 800 people originally and saw a classmate of mine actually that was working on the incident command team. They showed us exactly how the structure works and the protocols and the process. Was able to do that with Commissioner Bauman. I appreciate you taking me over there. Also met with Commissioner Bauman and Facilities Director Tim Kelly to discuss multiple projects, but at the top of the list is the excitement that's building behind celebrating the 250th birthday of America. And so he was describing what was going on there and how we're on pace to make that. I attended a budget review committee meeting to discuss county finances and trends, and we'll provide you gentlemen a copy of our finances and trends during correspondence. I think what you're going to see is that that we're in a lot better shape than maybe gets reported on. Met with the accounting staff with the auditor's office and held the department head meeting to discuss various operational issues and solutions. It was my week, and of course, as always, if you guys need me to be working on anything in particular, please let me know what that would be. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Commissioner.
Yes, last week comprised of the Hanford Communities Meeting, which very interesting that they're getting ready to get going with some small nuclear devices to create energy out at Hanford again. It's uplifting that we really need to stay into this game of creating energy with those plants out there and creating smaller ones so that they are able to maintain better and be able to watch. Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Coalition meeting. Had the Ben Franklin Transit meeting. It was Thursday evening. I couldn't be there in person because we were doing alfalfa, but I made sure that I called in and couldn't report in, and it's pretty much the same thing every time I try to use the phone. It's you don't really get recognized. I guess I don't know who I was, but listened to the whole meeting, and it was pretty evident that Ben Franklin Transit is flush with money because they turned into Santa Claus. They've got vans. They say they're out of their service years, but yet we're giving them away. The guy reported that these were really beautiful vans, kept up. They're giving them away. They're giving away furniture, and people are saying, "Well, that's a $1,000 desk," and I'm thinking, well, that's okay. We're giving away this stuff, but free rides all month long in July. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Ben Franklin Transit's turned into Santa Claus. They're just giving away everything. So concerned about Ben Franklin Transit because 0.6%, $20 million is what Franklin County has given Ben Franklin Transit, 0.6% every year, 20 million plus. And I watch these buses in Franklin County that should be downsized to vans, if anything. There's nobody on them. They're not being used. Yes, if they go to Columbia Basin College, use the big buses. But they're beating our blacktop down. These are heavy buses. They're beating our highways. They're using fuel. We don't need this. We need to downsize Ben Franklin Transit. And the people need to have a voice on this. And if they vote for it, I'm good with it. But we voted for it way back when. This has been 30 years ago that we got to vote for this. And I've been trying to get the board of directors to say, yes, let's let the people, they won't do it. They won't let the people have a say. Start coming to the Ben Franklin Transit meetings, please. Tell them you want your voice to be heard. Please come to the meetings and let everybody know that you want to be heard. Capital Press article here, Washington High Court to hear farmers' appeal. The Washington Supreme Court has agreed to hear the appeal of a Grant County farmer who has been embroiled in a 9-year battle with the Department of Ecology. Again, the Department of Ecology. They fined this guy $618,000 in 2017, saying that he didn't have his permits in order. And they were asked two questions about this. Number one, did they have the public notice? Was Ecology's application deadline for water right changes a rule adopted without public notice? And if it was, it's not legit. The second is, and did the department comply with the law requiring it to identify one or more ways to bring an irrigator into compliance before fining him? So hopefully our Washington State Supreme Court will get it right. And the last thing is, did a radio show this morning with Mr. Davidson, who is our interim administrator, and he gave us some great information about the Historical Society is what we reported on today. We gave out almost $26,000 in historical monies last year, and anybody can apply for them as long as it's a historical building or anything historically important in Franklin County. There's money available. So the Franklin County Historical Society for the museum got $20,037. Connell Heritage Museum got $5,100. And Franklin County Facilities for the Crown Jewels Huron Project got $501. So if there's anything that you can think of Franklin County can preserve, then yes, apply for it. The deadline is July 1. But it was reported on there on the radio this morning on 610, and next week I'm going to be doing the Veterans Fund, where we're at with it. I think being open and transparent with the monies that we have $202,000 left in the Historical Society budget right now. And this is what we got to do. We got to be open, transparent of where we're at with these funds and what it entails, and please, you could apply for them. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. This last week, I attended the Tri-Cities National Parks Committee meeting. We got an update on national parks, some of the effort that's going on there. Got an update on the B Reactor Museum and some preservation and updates that's happening there. They're working from the roof to the walls to the interior, lots of stuff going on. Right now, they anticipate reopening of that museum spring of 2028. Ben Franklin Transit Board meeting. Clint expressed the condition. Ben Franklin Transit is very, very well funded, and approximately $20 million a year comes from the people within the transportation benefit area in Franklin County, and that's something that the community should certainly be aware of. I want to highlight an employee of Ben Franklin Transit. His name is Scott Olson, and I personally got to witness Scott prevent a potentially tragic accident from happening. I happened to be downtown, and I was coming up to a stop sign, and one of the large buses was turning a corner, and a child ran into the road, and because of his awareness and his paying attention, he was able to stop and prevent that accident. The kid ran into an inside corner of a bus, and it could have been tragic, and it turned into, there was no no harm, no foul because of his awareness. And so the board presented Mr. Olson a certificate of appreciation, a commendation for his awareness and safety. As our administrator said, was able to get an update on the Juniper Dunes fire and the way that is being managed, and we got an invite out to the command center. The incident command post, and Commander Nichols out there gave us a very thorough presentation of how they do what they do and what they are doing on behalf of our community, and wanted to say thank you. I don't know if everybody's aware, but yesterday there was a lot of fires popped up around the Pacific Northwest, and I'm thankful for those that serve our communities and watching out in those areas. All the way from our emergency manager Sean Davis to the firefighters in the field, from volunteers to the paid, from the DNR to BLM to Fish and Wildlife to our private, or not private, but our rural fire, and the way they all work together. Just really thankful to everybody in their service to our communities. Also, as our administrator articulated, met with facilities, talking about different issues, specifically the elevator issue in our public safety building, and appreciate him working diligently on that. And I'll leave that as my report this week. That takes us to correspondence. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first piece of correspondence I have is from USDA Rural Development Director Kirk Pearson, who's agreed to come back on July the 29th to meet with us because they thought it was such a great event here in Pasco that we've been chosen again to host the Rural Prosperity Summit next year. So I think that's kind of a feather in our cap. I just wanted to give you that. The next piece of correspondence that I'll have for you is just, you may have already read this, but this is an update from Brittany Roski, so I'm going to take one and pass it down. Just filling you gentlemen in on how that's been going with juvenile court and juvenile services. I got a letter from the prosecuting attorney, Sean Sant, regarding the risk pool. I would pay great attention to some of the things that he brings up. But at the same time, as you gentlemen had indicated, and in working in conjunction with Ms. Isom and Mr. Briggs, we've reached out to the other risk pool to try to see about getting a quote. But I think that Sean raises some excellent points in there. I would recommend that the PA's office maybe talk with the HR director. I think that there might be some fear of the unknown, but also sometimes you don't want to switch horses midstream. So that's your gentleman's decision to make, but I think it's worthwhile looking at that letter. We also got a letter from Wes McCart, our Franklin County Planning, Building, and Economic Development Director, and it's regarding you gentlemen's favorite agency, the Department of Ecology. And there are two dates that they're having Washington's Water Future Initiative meetings, one on July 8th at 6 p.m. and one at high noon on August 4th, 2026. I didn't need to say high noon, but it just feels cooler to say high noon. I'm going to take one and I'll pass it down to you, gentlemen. And then finally, this is the budget committee and the budget report for not just cash flow and our cash position, but forecasting where we look like we might be headed. And we're in a pretty a good position considering everything that's taken place. And so one of the things that we're looking forward to is being able to realize now an incredible amount of savings on the juvenile justice, and then that'll, I think, help exponentially when it comes to this. And then if you have any questions, just ask me about it. I'll tell you just as an explanation so you know how to view this document. The first page is kind of an overall comparison of the last 4 years compared to now. When you flip to the next page, it's literally just the working annual budget. But then on page 3, this was the original forecast for the budget, and page 4 is the updated forecast for the budget. What do you mean by that, you might ask? Well, our accounting staff, who does a fantastic job, by the way, in capturing this, they go through and in real time and in seeing the trends that are taking place when it comes to sales tax revenue generation, will go in and they'll hit like a high, medium, and low of where we think we're going to land when it comes to revenue for that particular month or for the rest of the year. Those are important to look at because if you look at what they forecast at the beginning of the year, it looked like we were going to possibly be about $100,000 over budget. And now it looks as if we're going to be $10,949 over budget. So that shrunk quite a bit. Finally, on the last page, this is one that is important. This shows you not only the financial, but it also shows you the percentage to budget of FTEs. So you can look on the left-hand side and it'll have all the different departments. And then if you go to the middle, one of the middle columns there, you'll see that it says percentage to budget. I'll just take an example. WSU extension agent at the very top says 99.04. So they're, pretty much budgeted fully, staffed fully to where they need to be. Whereas you go down maybe to let's go with planning and building is at 81.39%. So they're coming in under. This is important to keep in mind so that when the ones that you don't want to look at are the ones that go over 100%, right? And so there are issues that cause that to happen, but it's something that it's more of a thing that you need to keep an eye on for trends. If there's a department that seems like that they're every single year in and year out coming up against this and not able to get in under budget, we need to, I think, ask the question why, and I think we need to do that with our budget analyst. Gentlemen, that is the correspondence that I have for today. If you have anything else that you would like me to be, working on as it pertains to correspondence, ingoing or outgoing, just let me know.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
So in this last page here, it says juvenile court services is at 62.59%. Is that Franklin County's or is that still?
That's Franklin County's.
That's Franklin County's.
Yeah.
It's doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. All right. No more questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Danzel. That takes us to the second public comment period. If there's anybody that wishes for public comment, please come forward, and you would have 3 minutes.
LaWanda Hatch here again from Franklin County. So this young man, Trevor, was doing his civic duty, trying to understand where Nikki Torres is living. He's supporting her competitor. He doesn't work for his campaign. He's just a a person of moral conscience, wanting to find the truth. And he is being prosecuted for that by our prosecuting office here, not by our PA, who recused himself, but by the office. His employees are prosecuting this young man. Now, I understand this man had a deferred case from when he was 17. Evidently, he left the scene of a crime or a scene of an accident. I'm not sure on that as well. But they're actually, even though he hasn't been found guilty of anything, they're actually working on that case against him as well. They're throwing the book at a young man on behalf of Nikki Torres, who does not really live. Let's be honest. I'm a mother. There's no way that I would leave my teenage daughter to live in the only house I own with my boyfriend while I lived 5 blocks away. Anyone that believes that, is wanting to believe that. So I am concerned about this young man as a mother of 5. I would be furious if this was happening to one of my children, and I understand his parents are. I'm worried this is going to cause a lawsuit for the county. I just want our prosecuting office to recuse themselves from this young man, because I know any other prosecuting attorney would look at this and completely drop it, because there is no there. He doesn't even come close to the RCW for what it would be to be stalking, but they're claiming he was stalking her teen daughter. A daughter he didn't know. He didn't go to school in Pasco. The girl has a different name than the boyfriend and has a different last name than Nikki Torres. How would anyone even know? I didn't even know she had a teen daughter. So it is important to understand that the book is being thrown at this young man. And if I was Miss Torres, I would be asking for this to be dropped, because this reflects badly on her. Who called the police on this young man for sitting in his car? I have people that come onto my property and have their pictures taken. They don't even ask me. Do I call the sheriff and say, there's someone on my grass? I'm very concerned about this. No, but this young man is being prosecuted for doing his civic duty.
Thank you.
George Dockstetter, Self Landing Road. The 3 of you cry worse than my great-granddaughter about Ben Franklin Transit, and you haven't got up off your asses and done a thing about it. Why don't you do something instead of crying every other meeting? I had to go to a transit meeting and listen to their BS. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for public comment?
Mitch Snow, Pasco, Washington.
Would you please speak into the mic? Thank you.
Mitch Snow, Pasco, Washington. How you guys doing? I'm pissed. I've had a good conversation with one of your deputy sheriffs. I'm going to reserve some of those comments on my personal issue for a bit. I have every right to be pissed. I wasn't even going to speak today, except for I just heard LaWanda get up here and tell a story about a young man who's being erroneously prosecuted. Mr. Briggs over there, you're part of the prosecutor's office, correct? We've spoke before. You're a good man. You know that case, but they're giving you a good suggestion. Somebody should be doing something about that. There's some tomfoolery going on. I've been personal witness in my own case, where you have lawyers, you have judges, playing games with the prosecutor's office to try and arbitrarily redefine crimes within the statutes of the RCW, which are well defined. And they're trying to make them look ambiguous so that they can aid their political friends to attack people that they find inconvenient. It seems to me I'm not the only case that's happening to. I really hope that that young man gets justice and an apology. And when you're ready, I really hope you give me an apology too for what you've done. We'll be talking again soon. I really hope that the sheriff, prosecutor's office, take some action this week. I'll be working with you. I have the documents and evidence that you need. If there's no action, the next time I come here, it's not going to be pleasant for any of y'all. But I do appreciate the time you've given us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody further in the room for public comment?
Hello. I'm Cataspinda with the two-tiered takedown. And yeah, after listening to this is what's happening, is that the Constitution is a contract from we, the people, letting our employees know what to touch and what not to touch. They're the untouchables. So like First Amendment right to speak, to use the voice that God gave me to protect myself. So we're doing our civic duty. We're trying to bring forth the truth because we don't get the truth from these people. And that young man who was sitting out there, that's all they had to do is say, who are you? You know, can I help you? Yeah, you know, whatever. But he didn't harm anyone. So we've gotten away from actual law. And we are working and swimming in legalese, codes, mandates, statutes, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, and in Washington state, RCWs. People always say, well, the law says, excuse me. RCWs are codes. They are not laws. And when a code does not meet up to the law of the land, it's null and void, cancelable, unenforceable. They can't enforce a code upon the employers. That doesn't make any sense. So we're getting kidnapped, murdered, stolen, stolen from, our houses are being stolen from, our children are being kidnapped by the police departments and by the deputy sheriff departments or the office. And that's the difference. The police department is a department, but the office of the sheriff is to work for the people, to intervene on behalf of the people, but they're the ones kidnapping our children. When did that start? Old spaghetti western, the sheriff came up and said, okay, boys, settle down. But he didn't act until somebody shot, until somebody moved to harm the other. That's freedom. And we don't live in a free country today, because if we did, we wouldn't have to worry about our children being ripped out of our arms at any given moment because a judge decides that they like this 14-year-old, that they like this 8-year-old. Jerry Davis, perfect example of what can happen in the system when everyone's silent and they're locking arms against the people. And we're going to rise up and we are going to stop it. Mark my word, because I can and I will. We can do anything we want. We are free people, but we're stuck under 11 million codes. That's not freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody further?
Marcy Torres from Franklin County, and I was trying to look for the article, but I'm sure you guys heard of that man that killed that 18-month-old in Richland. I looked up his record, and I did a whole article on it, but he had 9 previous assault DV criminal charges that had all been dismissed. And one of the things that I find most disturbing is how a lot of the cases that I get to document and the parents I get to talk to is, our police department's being weaponized. It's about having a friend of a friend do you a favor and paint a person into a certain way so that it favors their family case in custody. So I would like to see some accountability in our police department and, the law being upheld. I've also my son personally has come to me and said during our supervised visits, Mom, I have talked to my teachers about what's happened, my counselors. They won't do anything. They are mandated reporters. You guys heard of that para-educator that was having a sexual relationship with a 14, 15-year-old at the school? And apparently a lot of people in the school knew, and there was a video going around of this, of them too, and nobody reported it. So I do want to put every teacher, every principal, superintendent in notice that this will not continue to happen, not in this community. If I find out that someone knows that children are being harmed, sexually abused, or forced to be silent about the things that they're going through, and they're not disclosing it, we will have the same exact thing that's happening in Lakeview, Washington, happen right here in Pasco, Washington. I will not sit there and allow these people to continue to harm our kids and to sweep it under the rug and use our police department and our resources to continue to harm our children. This will not continue to happen. So thank you so much for giving us this space to come and speak. And I am so proud to say that I am from Franklin County, and I don't care what anyone says. You guys are the most amazing commissioners, and I do appreciate everything you guys do. Alvarez yesterday said that he's going to find a way to stop us from coming and doing public comment, but you know what? We are on a mission. He's running for re-election, and we'll do what we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment?
Aaron Derrick, Benton County, and just want to continue talking about court watching because I'm glad that we brought up this 18-year-old in Richland. That just marks a a colossal failure of a system, and these judges are complicit in it. And that's why court watching, something that we've kind of spearheaded in Benton and Franklin County, and it's been effective. And I want to invite everybody within the sound of my voice, you're watching on the live stream, if you're here, if you have the time, come be part of it. It's more fun than it sounds. I would equate it to a movie day. I mean, most of our movies are garbage anyway. This is fun. It's interactive. You're going in there. You're taking feverish notes. You're not going in with a sour attitude. You're not being confrontational, but you're still finding a way to make them nervous because accountability scares these people. Everything they've done for so long has gone unchecked, and court watchers are making a difference. So I want to encourage everybody, get involved. Reach out to Cataspinda. Tune in to Two-Tier Takedown. Forgive the shameless plug. Sundays at 6 p.m., Kat does an amazing job of consolidating everything that's happening locally in a digestible and entertaining fashion. And she's respectful of your time. Everyone check it out. And also check out Do Nothing Radio, because everybody loves a good truth jam, as we're calling them. Truther jams. And I love what everyone's doing here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anybody further for public comment?
So again, Brian Thornhill with Franklin County. So I know that you went over to and met with Ryan Nichols, the IC. And one of the things that, I don't know if they mentioned, but Washington State came out, it's called House Bill 1498. It's for air support. It's the biggest game changer we've had. We had a fire over on the bluffs off of Fur. And used to have to go to state mob, took forever to get that. You call, it's dispatch. We could, as a representative from a fire agency, you can call and put it as long as you got the training. So if you hear that House Bill 1498, you need to support that because it is a game changer. So I know these guys have a lot of good comments about you guys, and me probably not so much. I really appreciate Clint. When the ARPA funding came through, you pushed. We went out to Colotus. We did a lot of things. You put a lot of time in. So it's very hard for me to say things against you. And again, with your family, just knowing your wife and your kid, they're just good people, and it's tough for me to stand up here. That's probably the biggest thing. But again, they discuss only hearing one side, and that's whatever the legal system. They never get heard. I wish you would have listened to me and took my side in, because there's a lot of things that happen. And I think, and you're not going to like it, but you've had to flip on a few things, that you found the truth and there's some statements made, and now you guys have had to flip because I've taken it to the next level. I wish it hadn't gone there. I do think that you guys are very interested in doing the right thing. Now, Mr. Danzel, I don't have anything good to say about him. I think he knows the system and things like that, but I would be very happy with you guys, with my bosses, if I got a raise and everybody else in the county is held to certain standards for their wages, and he came up with this wage thing that's been around forever. But you guys gave him, and you had standards, so how much money was for agencies your size or whatever. And that was our criterion used to set wages. Well, you guys set that high for him, and then you went over the top of it. And then you told everybody else, were very rude to some of the people about the vehicle pool, and then you offered him his own. So yeah, why wouldn't he be happy with everything that you guys, So I've got the email, and the thing is, I've got the emails, like on the OPMA, Open Public Meetings Act, where he was wrong. And I had the best attorney in Washington State say he was wrong. So there's two sides of the story. Who wouldn't be happy if he could take 2 hours off and go to your house and drive out there in his own rig and nobody have accountability over him? So, yeah.
Thank you. Is there anybody further here for public comment? Seeing nobody else come forward, do we have need for executive session?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One more thing. I was just looking over this compiled information, and I would like to make it known, public record, that our corrections department is at 91.98%. which is really well. It's not even close to its 100%. But our sheriff's department is at 101.3%. It's a drastic. We got a corrections department that's working overtime to try to stay within their budget, but the sheriff's department is over its budget. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually like Mr. Thornhill. I'm sorry that he doesn't like me. Some of the issues that were brought to bear there were just so completely not accurate that a response is not warranted. But again, I would just say thank you so much for what you do, keeping your eye on the ball. The real answer is you don't have to trust me or take my words. The proof will be in the pudding. And I'm absolutely willing to roll my stakes on that and not talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for that. Do we have need for executive session?
Yes, under RCW 4230 110 1I litigation, we'll need 10 minutes. Myself, the board, Administrator Danzel, the clerk of the board, and Ms. Lloyd, as well as Ms. Isom.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, and you're certainly welcome to wait, but we are going to go into executive session under RCW 4230 110 1I for 10 minutes. We'll say that we're going to go into executive session at 10:31, and we'll come out at 10:41. Thank you for your patience. We are back from executive session, and we'll move forward in our agenda. Is there any other business for the good of the county? Seeing nothing further, this meeting is adjourned. Do we need a here for Franklin County on Wednesday, June the 17th, following the regular county commission meeting, and ask for approval of our workshop agenda?
I move to approve the one item on the workshop agenda, Public Works Solid Waste Updates.
I'll second that. Is there any comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is the place for public comment. If there's anybody here for public comment on the workshop item in front of us. Seeing nobody here for public comment, Ms. Jones, it is for you. Would you please speak into the mic? I just really struggle hearing.
Okay, so regarding solid waste, just kind of a short general overview. We run mainly off of grants. They are biannual, and so they run like this one that we're currently involved in. It runs from July 1st of last year, 2025, through June 30th of 2027. So these figures I give you are to be stretched over a 2-year period. So we have one grant, we have 2 grants total. The first one is the Community Litter Cleanup Program, and we received $115,200 for that one. That is one that in effect covers the probation work crew supervisors' hours, the van and trailer lease, operational costs for the van and trailer, also supplies, vests, bottled water, etc. This is an awesome program because we work as a community pretty much as far as how this is brought together. So I have the grant to be used for these certain expenses I mentioned. But also District Court sends us $5,000 a month. And the whole program is the probation work crew program, to where people don't have to either serve time or they have fines or that type of thing, to where the district court with the supervisor will set up, in the inmates or just people that are that have the fines. They can sign up for whatever days they may want to do the probation work crew. But they're awesome because they're out there and they're picking up the litter. And this is on county roads. This is not on state highways or anything. But they work together to get all of that cleaned up. Any illegal dumps also, besides litter, they're cleaning that up as well. And the sheriff's office will, let them know if they come across anything, or if a citizen calls in an illegal dump, then I get a hold of Nick. And so they go out and they're cleaning up all of our roads and everything. And then, so District Court is working with us, and then also Basin Disposal, as they pick up the litter and they take the trailer to dump it at Basin Disposal. Basin Disposal eats that cost. We don't pay for dumping any litter, taking any litter to the Basin Disposal. So it is a complete community effort, which I think is pretty awesome. And it's a win-win for those that, have fines, maybe can't afford them, would rather work it off in the community. So it works very, very well. The second one is local solid waste financial assistance. This is one that we received $419,765 for this biennium that we're in right now. There's 4 tasks to this one. We have goals for organics, recycling, moderate risk waste, which is like your household hazardous waste type situation, and then also planning, which is our solid waste plan. So what we have for these goals for this 2-year period is to collect and recycle 300 tons of recyclable material, properly manage 3 tons of household hazardous waste, divert 60 tons of organic material from the waste stream, and then complete an update of the solid waste management plan, including preliminary and final draft, approval of the draft. And this is something that then pays for certain expenses. So I have, some of the recycling bins that I pay for through the grant that we have in the community. We have a company, Republic, that I give them a call should we have an illegal oil dump. And speaking of illegal oil dumps, AutoZone will take used oil up to 5 gallons each time. And so definitely something that you don't want to take that to recycling bins, because that's not the purpose and it's illegal to dump used oil there. But AutoZone will take it, so that is the best way to go. But it covers tree chipping. We do the Christmas tree chipping with the city of Pasco each year. And then we have antifreeze that Emerald picks up from Basin. I've hired Clean Harbors because they can clean up quarterly. The last company we had was strictly annual. But these are the types of things. I have a consultant for our solid waste plan to make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. And, as far as like SWAC is a big part. It's a solid waste advisory committee, and they help with, we've gone through every single section of every chapter in that solid waste plan, which is over 200 pages. And we're at a point with that, they help review, and just so you know about what we call SWAC, that's the advisory committee. These are members that are from the private sector. Some of them are citizens that used to work out at the site. Just different citizens can volunteer for this. We have someone from the health district. We have a couple of people from the school district. Pasco and Mesa Public Works people are part of this. There's elected officials, business owners, the ag industry is represented, and then the waste management is represented also. So it's an awesome group of people that are really there to help, benefit the community by helping us out and going through this solid waste plan. So regarding the solid waste plan, we have Herrera environmental consultant Wendy Mifflin, who we contracted with them June of 2025, and we will need to extend that contract to December 31st. Where we are at with this solid waste plan is that, again, SWAC has reviewed along with so everybody's got their input on this from all different industries. And then our environmental consultant helps us to stay on track with all of the RCWs and anything that may apply to it. Also, our grant manager for the El SWIFA grant, Stephen Gimple, helps with it as well, because he's representing ecology. And so again, we've gone through every single portion of this. We came to an approval of our first draft about 2.5 months ago, and we sent it to the Department of Ecology. They review it, and then they also forward it on to the WUTC, Utilities and Transportation Commission. They also forwarded it on to the USDA, and the two of them, we've already received letters. They had no comments. They felt it, you know, for their perspective on what they were looking for, that it was fine. Ecology sent us the first round of comments. We've reviewed those, and then also spoke with our grant manager. That meaning myself and Wendy Mifflin, and then we reviewed also, once we reviewed it and could see some changes that maybe we could make. Then also we've worked with my ecology grant manager for the LSWIFA, and then we made changes, and then we forwarded that draft again to ecology. Monday, we just received back 5 comments of different areas that we're going to meet with him next Wednesday and go over it again. And then what we'll do then is that once ecology accepts the draft, then we start going back to SWAC. They review it again with the changes that have been made. And then we will go to the city councils. So we will work with Pasco City Council first to get their approval on the draft. We are looking at our next SWAC meeting after today being in August, when hopefully we have it all done to where that can be the second process of review for them. Then we go to the city council with Pasco, meet with them, give them the draft ahead of time to review. We will then, I want to set up a meeting in Connell that will cover Connell, Mesa, and Colotis, to have all of them get together, review it. They'll have it ahead of time. So this is a process. We started on this last year. So it's quite the process, as Wes probably knows, is more involved than ours with the comp plan. But so we're moving forward with it. We're doing really great time-wise. Some places have taken up to 5 years, and you're supposed to have it redone every 5 years. So that is where we're at with that. As far as recycling, there's some regulations coming down from the legislature. And so the Department of Ecology has to follow through with these. And we have curbside recycling that's going to be coming up. And from everything that I'm reading, it looks like by 2030 that needs to be in place. There's different processes that are still going on with that. The legislation passed the RCW for this. They hired a producer. What their process is that they are looking at the producers of the materials that are going into solid waste. So say it would be your packaging for your meals at restaurants. It would be plastics or any type of materials that are out there, bottles from water. I mean, there's plastics used for all kinds of things. There is a list right now of over 100 items that they're looking at. I'm hoping they stream them down a little bit. But what they're trying to do is they are trying to reduce the landfill by about 75% of what's going into the landfill and start recycling a lot of these materials. It could be your packaging for what you get from Amazon, from anybody. It could be packaging for apples and such. So all of these things are listed. They are going to the producers of these materials, and they are going to have them, they will have a charge. Depending on their volume, probably. I'm not sure about how they're coming up with that fee. But this fund then will be created. And the PRO, which is in effect a producer responsibility organization, they're a nonprofit. They have hired Circular Action Alliance to do that. And so what will happen is that this organization will control the fund, and by 2030, what they're looking at and it sounds like it will be a stepping stone. What will happen is that these producers that are kicking in these funds into this, into this pool, what will happen is then the facilities that have to set this up for their facilities to be able to recycle, they'll need to do some separation of product. Right now, a lot of it is cardboards, your tins and metals that way. Your glass is not necessarily a part of it right now. Your plastics, they're separating all of these things out, cardboards and such, to where then they send them off. They have a process to where they send them off to different recyclers. And so that's happening already. How detailed they're going to get because of all of these, I'm asking this question and people don't know at this point. Ecology is trying to figure out the processes. They're trying to put everything together due to this legislation. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of processes. There's, especially on this side of the mountains, there is not everybody's set up for recycling, and that's something that's going to be coming. And it is something that I kind of got off track a little bit, but this PRO by 2030 will get, I believe it's a stepping stone of 70%, that these facilities that are having to set up these processes and do all of this is expensive. Basin is going to potentially have to add 50% more trucks, not only because of that, but also organics that's coming. What is happening is that in 2030, they then could get reimbursement for, because of these funds kicked in from the producer of these materials, 70% the first year, 80% the second year, up to 90% the third year to help with the costs. Now, between now and then, there's no reimbursement, but it will be costly.
So can I ask a question there?
Sure.
I am unfamiliar with the process that you just described, wherewith a private business would be required to increase their fleet to do a service. Can you help me understand that?
It just depends. Franklin County is kind of out of the realm of most of the counties because we have a private industry completing the service of garbage collection. It will be recycling and all of this as well. Most places in the counties across the state, they have their own landfills or they have their own transfer stations. Some of them have a transfer station that they own, but they hire management to do the processing for that facility. There's a lot of different scenarios across the state.
So you can confirm that coercively we would require, or the state would require, somebody would require a private business to purchase a fleet of trucks in excess of what they currently have to provide a service as a private business.
Yes.
Okay, I am completely unfamiliar and have never heard of that before. Could you speak to that?
I think what Shirley's saying is that we would have the requirement as the government agency to provide those trash collection services, those expanded services. And so I guess at that point, Basin would have the option to expand its services to meet our needs as required by law, or we'd have to find a way to either supplement what we're currently doing with Basin or look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
news to
again, a
me.
lot of times, most counties have their own landfills or transfer stations, and they're
I appreciate
providing
that. That's
those.
just not the case here. We don't own the business. We don't own the transfer station. We don't have a landfill. We don't have any of those services. And so I'm unfamiliar with this process wherewith the state would come in and require something that doesn't exist to be put into place. And so I'm unfamiliar with that.
Well, and again, these are in effect mandates coming down from legislation that they have certain goals that they want to have met. And so we need, I mean, every county is just kind of like, you know, on the west side, a lot of them have these services already in place. We
No,
do not.
I certainly appreciate that. Several things before I forget them. Who is our grant manager? You've referred to a grant manager several times. Is that a consultant, or do we have somebody in-house that does that?
That is a person that's in charge of our account, our grant, and from the Department of Ecology. They work for Ecology.
Okay, and then you said that we would need to extend our contract with our consultant, Wendy Mifflin. Why do we need to extend a contract?
Well, what we were thinking is that potentially by the end of July, that we were hoping to have our solid waste plan in place. And because of delays with the comments, this is a bad time. Everybody's working on solid waste plans. But we also have these, this legislation that's come down. So we, like I said, on I'm not going to even give it a date. But when we sent, we've waited 5 weeks the first time around, and we've waited. We just got it Monday. We waited almost another four weeks to get these comments back from Ecology so we can move forward on making any changes that we feel need to be made or not. Part of the reason why.
Just a car going by, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So because of that, it's taking longer than we planned. And so what we are looking at now is August SWAC meeting. We're hoping that everything's done and to a point to where then they have a final draft to review and approve their recommendation. Then we go to the city councils. Then we go to the board here for approval along the way. So this all takes time, and obviously July 31st we're not going to be done. So that's why we need to extend. Now we have the same, we had roughly $66,000 that was approved by the board for the consultant, and we're roughly at about $44,000 right now. So
it would be an extension of time, not an extension of cost.
Exactly, yeah.
So I've gotten calls from people outside of the area concerned about a couple of things. A couple of specifically that had me concerned is it's my understanding after having researched this and learning about it that this legislation that you're referencing is tailored to the west side, not to the east side. And it's tailored to people, or it's tailored to organizations and entities that already exist and already set up and do this. And our area, being neither Benton or Franklin County, has a landfill. They don't have these services that they do. City of Richland does to some level because they have their own landfill, but not for the other cities. That this is not because we don't have it, because of all that stuff, that there is a process wherewith we can opt out of it in total.
Not in total.
And
No,
so
we can delay.
So that's not the information that I'm getting. So I'd like to have a better understanding of that, of how the coercive process that you described. I'm unfamiliar with when something that doesn't exist, that government can force somebody to go put into place a business or coerce a private business to do something. I would like to have a better understanding and clearer information on that.
Part of that also is that there are certain requirements based upon their permit that they would need to require these things, that they would need to provide these services as far as like basin disposal. They have a contract with for our incorporated area with Pasco, because that is
But they don't, there is nothing, there is no separate collection. There is one collection, and they have no facilities or no ability to separate any of that. So it's a completely separate thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand.
There is no organics facility. There is no, they don't have any of the equipment. They don't have the facility to collect this. They don't have the composting site. That none of that exists today. And so I'm not sure.
It is something that is in the contract between Pasco and Basin, that if
An organics collection?
organics and recycling, that if Pasco chose to ask them, yes, we want this done now, that they would do it.
Okay, that's brand new information to me. I was not aware of that.
Was
And
an
so-
option that Pasco has to say, we want recycling to be done, we want organics collection to be done. So that's been built into the contract. They just haven't chosen to initiate it. Pardon me? I'm sorry?
Because no recycling goes?
Well, it is going to be an expense, but it is something that is part of the contract currently. And now with these requirements coming down from the legislation, then it's something that's going to need to be done. And they're planning on it. Basin's, they're working out what they can do, when they need to do it, goals, timelines. Now, to go a little step further, we have also an organics regulation that was approved that actually, April of 2027, just next year, that year-round collection for source-separated organic solid waste services, so having organic separated, to be available to all business customers producing 1/4 of a cubic yard of organic material waste each week in single-family residences. So this is something that I worked on a waiver. And then once I got the waiver completed, I actually asked Scott from Yakima, because they were the only county in the state that had put one together so far. This doesn't need to be finished until December, but they already had it done and approved, and a lot of theirs was due to the quarantine for the apple maggot. But I asked him to send me a copy, so I had a kind of a framework of what he did. And so ours is a little bit different reasoning, but I did use a little bit of ideas from what he had. So I put in what is called an ORCA waiver. An ORCA is an organics collection area, which Pasco is. If you have over 25,000 people, and as far as population, you become an ORCA. They're throughout the state, again, most on the west side, but there are some midway down as well that are ORCAs, Spokane. So the ORCAs are the ones that need to have, that this regulation really pertains to at this point. So this is something that I put in for a service waiver. There were two waivers. One's a frequency. If you feel like you can match these goals, because April of 2030, it's non-elective, that this system has to be set up with curbside collection of organics.
Does this
So-
include the rural areas or only within city limits?
It's only the ORCA areas at this point in time.
I guess what defines an ORCA area? Is it the UGA
25,000.
or?
25,000
Well,
people.
there's over 100,000 people in Franklin County, and so is it the county boundary? Is it the city boundary? Is
It's
it,
because the city has about 85,000 of that population.
so it would be city limits?
Yeah, it's Pasco. And so, again, I put together a waiver, and then I've put it to the Public Works at Pasco. I work closely with Mary Heather. She's reviewed it. I then sent it to our consultant. She reviewed it. I made a few tweaks between the two of them. I set it up at one of the conferences I went to, that one of the gals from Ecology, I asked her, I said, would you mind reviewing this before I submit it? and she said she would. So now it's with her, and I'm hoping by the end of the month that I can get this sent in. What my reasonings were a matter, you had 4 options of reasons that you can ask for a waiver.
While you're getting a drink there, sorry, Mr. Commissioner, do you have any questions this far through this?
No, I just got a comment, and that is, Shirley, do you have direct contact with the people that are driving these vans when they're cleaning up Glade Road? Because I ran into one of them last week. They were cleaning just north of Dogwood, and they parked on a hill that we had to go into the other lane of traffic to get around them. Made it very dangerous.
Okay.
And there was a parking lot and this was not prisoners. These were people out picking up stuff, and I really appreciate it. I do thank them for doing it, but just keep safety in mind and get off the road, because we're calling for turnouts.
Right.
We're asking for turnouts. We're begging for turnout. We're not getting turnouts. So we need to keep the roadways free and clear, and they can't be parking on a hill and making people go into the other lane of traffic to get around them.
Okay.
Because you couldn't see anything coming if it was dangerous, very dangerous. So that was my only comment.
All right.
Thank
No,
you.
I'll talk to
One
him.
other thing. I see our building planning and economic development director here, who's working on our comp plan. Does this tie in with our comp plan? And you have certainly many years more experience than I do, and tying into our comp plan, you might have comment.
So, yeah, I did ask for a copy of our draft plan that Shirley had put together. She sent me, and I sent that to the consultant for the record. So, yeah, it fits into some of the utility pieces that we have for the overall comprehensive plan. But I don't have specifics that I'm required to put in the comp plan as relates to organics or any policies that way from a development standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Just
No,
didn't want to.
no problem.
I'm taking notes as fast as I can, but I don't want to get outrun before I forget.
So the other legislation regarding organics, again, our deadline for April of next year, we are trying to extend that. It can be extended up to 5 years, but that's all up to ecology as far as how much time they give us. But again, there's different reasons that one of them that I've used 2. One is the distance to an organics management facility. So what we have is we have natural selections as far as organics facilities that are nearby. They are down by Sunnyside. They don't want the materials. They are very much, these are businesses that are geared towards a final product for farmers or whoever their end customer is. They have specific farmers that they gear their end product to. It needs to be pure, no contaminants, and they have different formulas depending on the farmer that it is. So they're very much specific to what their end product has to be. Another one is Bartek. They are in Sprague. They are 89 miles away, and they are at capacity. They will take 3 to 5 years roughly in order to get to expand and be up and running.
So if we were to ask for their services, we couldn't use their services for 3 to 5 years.
Right.
That's from the point of us asking for capacity. So if we didn't ask for capacity until 2029, it would be then additional 3 to 5 years for them to be able to expand to serve. Or are they already in an expansion mode, and that's how much time from now?
When I talked to the gentleman that manages that, he said when they get started, it will be 3 to 5 years. I don't know at what point they are with that, if they've started yet. The other one that we have an option of, and I took a gentleman from Basin, their governmental affairs, Jeff Thompson, and also a gal that was an environmental person that was working with Public Works at Pasco. And we went down to a tour. Now, that facility is 138 miles away. But we went through there. They know their stuff. They're awesome people. And it was really an interesting tour. The problem is that it's 138 miles away. So you're looking at fuel, you're looking at, with these mandates coming down with organics and recycling, you've got personnel, you've got fuel, you've got costs of the trucks. And if you're having these trucks go down back and forth, that's going to be very, very expensive. So another reason why, so that's the reason that I put down as far as the ORCA waiver. But also there is a fourth reason that you can use, and it's regarding quarantine. And that's what Yakima used. And even though we're not under quarantine, I checked that box and I sent a map as far as the infestation of the Japanese beetle in Pasco, which is over half of Pasco. And so I'm using that reasoning as well, as far as to get our waiver. And again, so right now, that waiver is at Ecology with that gal that said she would review it prior to my submitting the waiver. I believe we will get it. I really do. Now, because of the deadline for 2030, then we will need to do this again with whatever we're at, whatever point we're at in the process in 2029 to get the waiver for 2030. Honestly, I feel, and someone else mentioned it also at a conference, I think it will be 2035 before we're truly up and running with everything. But again, it's just, there's a lot going on as far as getting all these processes in place.
Could you provide via email? Could you provide me with the bill and the information that shows this requirement? This is just not the information that I'm getting, and would love to, I guess, read it so that I have a clearer understanding, because what you're describing is multi-millions, potentially tens of millions of dollars for us to do what you're describing that the law is going to require of us. And if we have an incoming bill of, $6 to $15 million in order to collect, 300 tons of organics per year, that just makes no sense. If we're going to truck this product 138 miles away, that's roughly $1,200 just for the trucking to get a load down there, and that's not the cost of the recycling. And we're talking an immense expense. And so I'd like to read through the bill and have an understanding of where this information is coming from, because I'm unfamiliar with the process wherewith we can require a private business to do anything. What Pasco does with them is Pasco's thing, and I recognize it's a solid waste, but this is where that I need to be able to understand it better, because right now what you're describing by 2030 to 2035 is potentially tens of millions of dollars of expense that we don't have. The funding for is certainly very unclear at best, and the volume that we're talking for that kind of expense, there must be some monetary penalty if we weren't to comply or something. I don't know. I need to be able to read to have a more clear picture.
I believe that's why for the organics that they have put in these waivers. They know where we are. I saw a market study from Ecology that they were aware that Eastern Washington is not anywhere near set up for this. And I believe that's why they've built in these waivers for the organics, because they realize how far we need to go.
I appreciate that. A waiver is different than an exemption from.
Right.
And so that's where my understanding is there's an exemption from, especially since we have no facilities here nor anywhere close. And so, yeah, I just need, if you could provide that in via email, that would be really helpful.
Well, also since our tour that we did at Dirt Hugger, I have been in correspondence with the owners, and I planted a seed with both of them, one when I was scheduling the tour and one when I was there with the other owner that gave us a tour. And so I said, how'd you like to open up a compost facility in Franklin County? And so we've been in correspondence. I've been checking with the counties around us. We have 3 other counties that are interested and would use it. We have the biggest volume. We would have, the way that Ecology looks at organics is they are thinking that approximately of our solid waste, 28.2% would not be going into the transfer stations or the landfills. Now, we take all of our garbage collection, we take it down to Finley Buttes by Boardman in Oregon. But it would reduce that volume, they're thinking, by 28.2%. So of that, we had 152,940 tons, I'm sorry, big difference there, of garbage in 2025.
How many tons was that?
I'm sorry?
How many tons was that?
152,940 tons. Of that,
152,000 tons?
yes, for the year. Of that, 43,129, using that 28.2%, would become organics, and that would not be going into any landfill, but would be, volume that could go to a compost facility. So I've given Tyler at Dirt Hugger, and they are interested. I've given him that figure. He said that alone would warrant them doing that. It would cost probably 20 to 30 million for this compost facility. Moses Lake facility, we would have potentially 4,000 tons. Walla Walla, just food waste alone, because they have a composting facility that they're looking to expand, but they only want grains, which is your landscaping material. They don't want the food waste, but still they're calculating about 5,000 tons of food waste. So with these figures, we're looking at, I've been back and forth with them. I met with Wes. He brought up a good point as far as water, because we'd be looking at 25 acres. And from Tyler, I got a figure that they'd be running about 120 gallons per ton. And of course, where they're at Dalesport, they get 12 inches of rainfall, but he looked it up, and we get between 7 and 9, I'm sorry. And they also, of that, they could use 75% of that liquid could be a liquid feedstock, such as beer waste. And I know we have some facilities, so they could look into potentially getting some of that liquid from beer waste. That would help, that would be a part of that 120 gallons per ton.
So point of clarification here. So is it the SWAC committee that when you said that we, I'm trying to think of how you said it, I'm sorry. We reached out to Dirt Hugger and asked them if they would like to open a business here. Is that the SWAC that?
No,
that
was me.
Okay. I'm not sure if we're in a position as a county to reach out and ask people to open businesses, but okay, I'll have to think through that a little bit.
Well, the thing is that we've got this regulation coming. We don't have a compost facility. That would save money at basin disposal on top of them getting the trucks and
I
stuff.
appreciate that, but that's a business decision on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners or department head to make that level of decision. And so I'm trying to have an understanding here and trying to follow you through. Another clarification: 152,000 tons appears to be about 17 semi loads a day. Do we haul that much out every day out of Franklin County? That's an enormous number.
I'm sure they're hauling it out there because that is quite a bit, but all of it's going there. Now, if they get, like, from our recycling bins, any of the cardboard, anything that they can send to a recycler, you know, they get pallets. We have they send it to a wood chipping facility. So anything recyclable, they haul out, and then any of the regular garbage and such gets hauled down there. I couldn't tell you daily, you know, I'm sure that they're trying to keep their facility as clean as possible for more garbage coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. This is kind of the world that I work in. Whenever I hear a number, I know how much, you know, you can haul per load, and I just start doing the thing and putting the numbers in mine, and I think my number of tens of millions might be low based on some of these numbers that you're given. So if you take 152,000 tons times 28.2%, that's 43,000 tons of material. That is a gigantic facility to be able to, you know, understanding the process. That's huge. So yeah, I got some studying and learning to do. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, right now they're running about 55,000 tons in their composting facility that they have down in Dallasport. They just got a permit. I believe it went through for 90,000 tons, and they're on a 25-acre site.
Okay.
If you have a chance, it's an awesome tour.
I appreciate that. I didn't know anything about it until I started getting phone calls with some of these questions that I've had, and trying to learn and understand, and that's why that I asked for this meeting, so that we could be brought up to speed on what's being done on our behalf. And so yeah, thank you. Any questions, sir? Nope. Anything further?
No, that's pretty much where we're at with everything.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Administrator. Or any questions or thoughts?
Nope, not at this time, and I didn't have any other business either.
No? Thank you so much, sir. Any other business? Is there anybody else in the room for public comment? You didn't have to wait for public comment, but anyway.
Thought it was appropriate. So just to give you a little more food for thought, commissioners, we are required right now. So you asked the question about the comp plan, and you know, you don't always have the answer right on the tip of your tongue, right? So I'm sitting there thinking about it. We have a mandate for reduced vehicle miles traveled. So, you know, here we go again. One legislature doesn't necessarily know what another body of the legislature is doing, and they pass these bills and they contradict each other. And I'm sure former Senator Danzel over there has no idea what I'm talking about. But, you know, we're looking at organics recycling to reduce the carbon dioxide footprint, and yet we've been required by the GMA to put a climate element in place where I'm supposed to reduce overall CO2s, and I have to reduce vehicle miles traveled. And how does that all work if I'm now running double trucks to pick up all of this organic waste separately and take it to a facility? It seems to be contradictory to each other. And I'm telling you this so that when you have the opportunity to testify in front of the legislature, you can kind of point out the fact that, you know, you're telling us in one hand we have to do this, and you're telling us in the other hand you have to do this, and they're contradicting each other. How are we supposed to actually achieve both goals? They're not in sync. And I think my recommendation as the Director of Planning and Economic Development would be to kick this can down the road as far as we possibly can until we can get the legislature to reconcile those differences.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
Mr. McCart, could we possibly maybe take another angle at this too? And that is that Franklin County, with the Columbia Basin Irrigation Project, creates an enormous amount of oxygen through photosynthesis. Could we send the state a bill for the creation of oxygen in this county?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner, I think that's a great idea.
Let's do it.
But you know, as we're working through our climate element in the comprehensive plan, I will tell you we've thought about that entire cycle, and I think when you see the language that we've put in there, the reports that we get, the information and data that the state's put together for us to use for this, has all of the carbon dioxide outputs. They don't consider about the other side of that. So we've included that in our plan,
Excellent.
in our agricultural sections of our plan in the climate element. So we're kind of ahead of the curve in
like the
going
way
down
you
that
work.
path, sir.
Thank you. I think he may have a comment that he would want your input.
Yeah, it's just, it is a state, that highly esteemed place that you talked about that never writes contradictory laws. The other thing is I remember with great clarity, going on a trip with other legislators, to look at where all of it ends up. And at the time, it was like a mini scandal because they weren't segregating anything. All the recyclables were all in with all the rights to the regular garbage. And then the other part of it is this, and
It was a feel-good thing?
it was a feel-good thing. And then the other part of it is this, and this is just accurate, and you can Google this, you can do the math on it, but recycling doesn't ever pencil out. It has to be heavily, heavily subsidized, and we know this. But that's kind of one of the issues that when you talk about extending it out, the only way that we can make it work ever at the county level and not go upside down was when we had federal and state grants, basically, and funding and appropriations. That was like, hey, we have the new anti-plastics campaign. Here's a huge pocket of money for you to do that. But if we had to do it on our own and like the actual whole process, this was something that I'll get the meeting. I'll have to remember what day it was and years past and go to TVW and send you the link. But we had a huge workshop on this, and it just never pencils out.
This is
Like-
where you describe what my concern is, because in my head, I'm building at speed. You know, you take a brand new garbage truck that's in the neighborhood of $400,000, and you got to increase the fleet by 50%. And then that means you increase your employees by the same, equivalent. And then you got to build a completely different facility. The facility that they have now, I go to it almost every single week to take whatever. And as I'm building this thing in my head, I mean, it's tens of millions of dollars to do this. And they're not going to come with the plastics fund to build this facility on our behalf, and so I am concerned about it. So I agree with you that we kick it as far as we possibly can down the road.
Well, and just from a ratepayer piece, I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way of taxing our citizens a little further. Okay, we're going to make you pay an extra $20 a month for your garbage bill so we can do this program that in the end really isn't going to reduce any carbon dioxide footprint if we have to haul it way out. If we have to build a facility here, where's the money magically raining? Well, it's only raining from the taxpayers. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Thank you so much for your presentation. I do have another an item for other business that I'd love to hear, Commissioner, your thoughts on this and our administrator. So my thought is that we would direct our administrator to come back in 2 weeks in a workshop setting with a proposed design standard for what a pullout would look like on our county roads. And here's my thought process on that. My thought process is if we put together a standard, I believe that there is likely people that if this was a process that was very simple and easily accessible to them, that they may, or at least this would give them the opportunity to do something on their own, if they so chose. And I think about the pullout, just north of the Esquatzel Canal on Glade and just south of the Esquatzel Canal on Taylor Flats. I think they were originally built for, I think they were called DOT pullouts way back in the day. But I wonder if we were to go and put a design standard together. It could be fairly simple. We could probably draw one here in the space of a few minutes to start the process that we could, provide the process for public comment, to see what people thought of it. But, in my mind, this is a process where that you have a approximately 2% cross slope, that it's a graveled surface that's, maybe, you have the white line and the edge of it's 20 feet away, providing roughly a 15-foot wide area that you could safely pull off. And if we were to start the process with a design standard that said, if you would like to put one of these in, here's what we would like it to look like, and it would be a place to start. And so I said a few weeks ago that I was working on some ideas on some road maintenance and preservation stuff. This was a natural piece of that. As I started looking, I've looked in our county and other counties where that they've how they maintain roads and what their processes are like. And I think this is a very simple process. It cost virtually nothing to lay out what a standard would look like. If we said it was 15 feet wide by 100 feet long, and it'd be pretty simple to evaluate that. And so I would like to say that.
I'd just like to say that I have tried to do this with our property, my wife and my property on Glade Road, and I was specifically told that you can't touch that borrow pit. You cannot get in there, because I was going to lay down base rock. I wasn't just going to put dirt. I was going to lay down base rock and create a 2% slope, 15 foot wide, away from the fog line, so equipment could get off and maintain its 20-mile-an-hour speed while cars went by it for a distance, for a mile, because that's about what I got there on Glade Road.
So I think that we could. It's this Board of County Commissioners that decide that, and so I think that we, put a standard, and I think we try to be careful with it. If we could say that it doesn't have to have a maximum length, but we could say that we would like the minimum to be whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I would like to. Is that a reasonable request of you to ask you to?
I think we'd have to have Mr. Erdman in the room.
I think that's what's being asked, right? So just so I can recapture, you're asking that we authorize the county administrator, me, to work with Craig Erdman to come up with a design standard for pullouts,
Yep.
at least as a start.
Yep.
No, I think
Bring-
that's
Yep.
absolutely.
And to be honest with you, nobody in the state's doing this, and it needs to be done. I think some counties have done some things on their own, but they say there's nothing to go by. Well, let's lead the way.
Yeah, okay.
Franklin
The answer
County
is
leads
yes.
the way.
Yeah.
So I wrote myself a note that has been here for, I don't know, it's probably over a year now. And it's Glade Road, Taylor Flats Road turnouts. And so it just keeps reminding me, and I keep thinking, what does that look like? And I think that we start the process, we put a design in place of what we would like to see, and until we find out funding for us to do it, we provide an opportunity for those, such as Commissioner Didier, that would like to do it on his own, that he could do this, that he could go out and do this, and I don't know what the, perhaps a no cost permit or something, so that our Public Works knows what's planned, and they can provide some assistance in some way. I'm not sure exactly what this looks like, but I think that maybe. I think we may be given enough direction that you could go and bring back a proposal of what this might look like, and you get the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and I think we take a deliberate first step, and that would be my request.
I think that it's a good request, and I'll tell you, so the pushback that you'll get is it'll be from a liability standpoint. Folks will be reticent to engage in something like this, because they'll say, like, if something happened, we're a joint several liability state, and so the county could be 1% at fault, but if we have deep, and everybody sees us kind of as deep pockets, we become the available person to pay. I look at it a different way. I'll tell you the way I look at it. I look at it as that is possible, that all that could happen. I think what's more likely is that we would be liable because of a really terrible, horrific car crash because there aren't pullouts. And so my way of looking at it is that I appreciate the proactive approach rather than the reactive. I guess the reactive one would be, we just have to have something so terrible like what has happened already at Sagemore and some of the other intersections. Or you can proactively just say, as a board of commissioners working in conjunction with the county engineer and public works, that you understand that that's a consideration, but it's more important for you as a board to make sure that people don't run into each other and that people don't die moving farm equipment.
I appreciate that, and I think perhaps as a part of this workshop that we could ask for the legal, evaluation of it, of what is the exposure or the risk, and what that looks like, and what we can do to address that appropriately. And I think that would be a productive way to start the process of evaluating it, but start with the first step and figure out where it leads us, understanding that our goal is a destination of safer and more neighborly approach to using the same road. Any further thoughts there, sir? One last comment. I just wanted to say thank you to Jen and Teresa. I know Teresa's not here today, but you together have been working on the way that you present the meeting minutes, and I just want to say that they are very professionally done, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciated that. They're simple to read, they're very thorough, and very professionally done, and wanted to say thank you for that. Any other business for the good of this county? With that, this meeting is adjourned.